Step it up.
And we're live.
So Donnie said, step it up. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rodeo Time, the podcast. We've got a very exciting guest today, Mr. Jeremy Melancon, entrepreneur and rodeo cowboy, bronc rider, traveling partner of Dale Brisby's, and just a really wise guy. He's kind of in my counsel. Not that I need a lot of advice, because I'm Dale Brisby, but when I do, he's one of the three people that get called. So we're going to talk about, what else do we talk about? A little bit about real estate, but then we get into like rodeo cowboys and what's the best way for them to, make some money and be wise with their money. And then we get into entrepreneurship and sales. We talk about it all.
Life, freedom. We talked about Marcus Luttrell a lot.
Yeah, so this morning we went on so we go in there, and then he was like, he let his dog in, and he's like, let her, whatever, but if she goes to chewing on stuff, don't, and I said, sir, Marcus Luttrell's dog can do whatever she wants to do. She can chew on my leg. I will not reprimand your dog.
We heard the 911 call.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about when we first walked up there, though?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the chainsaw?
We walk up, and the garage door comes up, and it's a 7-foot tall man with a chainsaw with a blade. I kid you not, 4.5 feet long. And he's cutting something up, like right there. And he's got a mask on. It was terrifying.
Sounds like it.
It sounds like the way a Navy SEAL would say hello to his new podcast guest. It was just a big joke.
It sounds insane. Because you pass a sign that says, like, welcome to Valhalla. And the next thing we know, there's like an outline of a body on the bottom of this garage floor.
Yeah, and he's running a chainsaw.
Yeah.
It was a pretty wild intro. Yeah, and then his wife was like, yeah, Marcus, he's silly. He likes to play jokes on people. Apparently. But, yeah, we got we're down here in Huntsville. We're staying at Jeremy's house, and then we dipped down to Marcus's house. He grew up in this area. He's a Bearcat.
Or neighbors.
Yeah.
Not officially.
He knows Cody Johnson. So, why you look at me like that? That's like one of your best friends.
Yeah.
Who I introduced you to, by the way.
You did introduce us. Great family friendship.
Jeremy's last name is Melancon, but Procom, when you call back for callbacks, pronounces it Melancon. So, Jacob Scrawley, Sterling, myself, we all, that is his name. Like, I'll say Melancon to, like, Lisa or someone. She'll be like, what? It's like, Jeremy. Well, anyways, I introduced him to Cody Johnson. We go to dinner, and for, like, a year, he thought his name was Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like the Lincoln Town Car.
So Brandy was at the hair salon. And she was like, "Yeah, we met these people, and I was gonna look them up or talk to them, but I can't find them. His name is Lincoln." And she's like, "Who?" And she kind of explained this a little bit, and we know the people that own the hair salon are our neighbors, and that lady, we've known them for a long time. She's like, "No, Melancon." And she's like, "No, I'm sure it was Lincoln." He's like, "No, it's Melancon. But that's not his name."
It's actually Melancon.
Yeah.
Melancon. It's Cajun.
Yeah,
it's Cajun.
Especially if you're talking to Cody Demos.
Yeah.
Special teams. You were the farmer.
Special teams take some laps.
I was pretty pumped because in the podcast today, I got to organically refer to myself as Daddy. So that's always fun.
It was not organic. It's never organic when you call yourself Daddy.
It's hilarious.
It's never organic.
It could be hilarious, not organic.
If you're talking to your kids, maybe.
Yeah. Well, hey. Daddy likes to call himself.
Yeah, there it was, organic once again.
Daddy wants what he wants. Yeah. I want to say my hands down favorite part was Marcus Luttrell.
And onto the podcast.
Marcus Luttrell gave Dale a compliment when we first walked in there, and he says, before we get all started, he says, "I'm going to give you a compliment," and he prefaced it by saying, "And then I'm never going to give you another one." And then he goes on to just, tell Dale like good work and everything. And then we all sit down and get started. And he goes, "None of those cameras were running, were they?"
There were 7. We've all got these iPhones in our pockets. And then there were 6 professional cameras. And he just goes on like a little 90-second spiel like, "Hey, man, just really proud of you and like everything you've built. And this is really, it's really neat. We watched the Netflix show. We love it. And I look at Donnie, and Donnie's like standing there with his hand on the camera, just like, yeah, that's cool.
Man, that's really cool that he's saying that.
And I was like, is that thing running? And he was like, oh. He's like, son of a Donnie,
don't church it up like
man,
that.
As good as all y'all stuff is, what are we like? What good things are we missing? Like, are we missing the gold?
Donnie's gotten pretty good about catching because the candid stuff is the best.
Yeah,
when it's real. Which is what you get with Dale Brisby, all right? I'm so honest you can shoot dice with me over the phone or over this podcast. Boom, 7, you lost. Dale Brisby wins again, 90 points. Now on to the podcast.
Forgot one.
Dude, I love the intro music.
Yeah, it was a good find.
Agreed.
Whoever found that, really.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Did Willie find Winnebago Weekly intro music?
I had found that song first. I don't ever say this because I like to give him credit for things, but that's like the first song that pops up if you search Office theme song. And being a loyal Office fan, I have searched that on Jingle Punks.
Well, that's good that you gave it to him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And took it away.
When he asked, I wasn't just going to be like...
Also, Willie is really quick to throw people under the bus.
Yeah, man, that sucker, he will throw someone under the bus quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like, it's hard for me to just think of an example off the top of my head, but yes, I agree to that.
Who did this? Donnie did it.
Yeah. Willie, do you know anything?
No, I didn't. Yeah, but you were standing over there.
Do you know anything about this? Well, actually, Donnie told me to go weed eat, so I set the weed eater down behind the Can-Am and then backed over it.
And then I cut all these trees down.
Yeah. Well,
in his defense, he will take the blame if it is his fault.
And he's very respectful and blah, blah, blah. Great kid.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Do you have any interns yet?
Not yet. It seems like a pretty good model, though.
Dude, you need an intern.
I got one today. Actually, I got an intern today. I just didn't think to call him an intern. He's an intern. Okay, I'll call him an intern.
What's his name?
Well, he doesn't know he's an intern yet, so and I'm paying him. You can pay interns, right?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Tyler.
Wait, what?
His name's Tyler.
After
your brother?
certain
yeah,
time.
my brother.
Your brother's an intern.
He is today.
You
So
have
he's
a brother?
I do have a brother.
He's got
an
two.
intern. He doesn't. He probably wouldn't love me calling him an intern.
So he's going to
grows
quit
on you.
ranching?
You know, I don't know if you can ever quit ranching. I think it's a lifestyle kind of thing. But yeah, today he didn't ranch. It was raining and it's cold outside. So we set him up an office in my office. And he really doesn't have a job description. He's just going to help me do what I do. And I'm going to help him do whatever he wants to learn how to do. So,
Is he really?
Yeah, he really is.
And you're going to pay him?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I didn't pay him today, but I'm going to pay him for today.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he surprised me. He got a keyboard out, or I set him up a computer, and he started to type on it. Like, put his fingers in the right spots and everything. I was
Really?
blown away.
Wow.
Had no clue he could type.
Wow.
I mean, he got upset that I didn't know he could type, but
So
Who's older?
I'm older.
Okay.
yeah, by like 10 years.
Yeah, 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to 10. So, how long's it been?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Used to give me hard candy. Gave me my first ride of horseback.
My God.
It ain't
Well,
new.
Tell us what you do. So, anyways, Jeremy and I rodeoed together, and he always has been doing stuff in real estate. All right. I have been interested in real estate since like high school. And when I say real estate, I mean like, man, it'd be cool to own a rent house. That just intrigued me. And so Jeremy was also intrigued, but he was just for some reason able to get started right away. And now it's like what he does for a living. Like none of us ever really, we thought you were like born with a silver spoon in your mouth or something, but like you like, I don't know. I didn't know where your money came from. Okay. Like I didn't know how, like I knew you could ride broncs good, but I was just like,
Not
maybe
good
he's a
enough to get
trust
paid.
fund baby. But then you weren't a trust fund baby and you
No.
weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth,
No.
quite the opposite. And so like, tell us how you made money and like, well, first start with like, what is your job description right now? And then we'll start at the beginning. Tell us like how you made money doing this.
Okay, so I would call, like, you hear people talk about serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real official term or if it's the one we're supposed to use or whatever, but like Gary Vee talks about, before even anybody called anybody entrepreneurs, he wanted to be a businessman. Like I've got those same thoughts. Like I want to work for myself. I want to build a business. So I've always felt like that. My mom owned rental property. I always heard about that growing up. They had their own business. That's just what I went to. And then I just kind of expounded on that. So mainly our two businesses we're a custom home builder and we're an asset management company, which we focus on real property, income producing. So it has to be a real asset and income producing.
Yeah. I think that's where, because like you'll show up and you'll have like paint on your hand or pants or whatever, but then like you're also going to meetings with a suit on. And so a lot of people just didn't understand that you were, you had the construction company that you were involved in, but then it also led to you like managing like rich people's money, huh?
Well, so it actually started out with the real estate. Like I just wanted to own rental property, but I couldn't really afford it. So I had to do all of the work myself. So during that, I met my partner, Tony, and we started remodeling homes, and then we started building homes, but it actually started our first homes
like
that
partner in business.
Yep. Yeah. Partner in business.
Gotcha.
I mean, all the way around, man.
Oh, makes way more sense.
Yeah. Just, I was just clarifying. Hey, that's all it is.
Yeah.
So that's the secret, huh?
Lots of secrets. Or was a secret.
Business.
It was a secret. It was a secret.
It's not who you know, it's who you.
Yeah. So no, the building thing just strictly came from necessity. I do like building things, I don't like building the same thing over and over again, which is really why I like custom homes, and then I like projects. So like the investment side was really interesting projects. I could put the structure of the deal together, and then I could also build the deal and then kind of control both sides of it.
So whenever I guess all that doesn't sound that far off. That's all pretty logical. I guess it's just a little uncharacteristic for that kind of person to also be a rodeo cowboy, specifically rough stock.
Why?
You don't feel like that's unique?
No, I don't feel like that's unique. I feel like rodeo breeds entrepreneurship. I've said that the whole time. You have to find a way to make money. You can't get a job. I guess you could, but you're going to quit rodeoing to do it.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking of a way to make things work. All businesses is problem solving and staying focused. So, rodeo doesn't, I was going to say rodeo doesn't always work out right. It doesn't work out right a lot of the times. Like your plan, when you nod, doesn't always go, to plan. So
Right. There's a lot of crossover.
there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover
And
between.
it's networking. Like rodeo is a lot about who and who you can get along with and who you can catch rides with and who you rodeo with and how that affects your mental attitude and what you do go about the day. So it's the same thing with business. It's all about, your relationships. Like right now, anyone can sell a custom home to be built because there's way more people that want custom homes than there are people that have, that are building them. Mm-hmm. So it's not the person that can sell the house, it's who can actually get it built. And that all comes down to your relationships. If we have a skilled labor shortage and you only have a few contractors that can actually do the work, the people that have the best relationships with them are who's going to be able to actually produce that work.
Yeah, that wasn't the case like 5 years ago.
No, not at all. It really wasn't the case in 2009, 2010, coming out of 2008. It was a dead market. You couldn't sell anything and people would, So it's funny because it is a big shift. Like when clients come in, it's almost like you're interviewing the clients that you want to work with now instead of the clients interviewing the builders. It's a weird dynamic to work through.
I don't understand how, like I realized, when the pandemic hit, that a lot of people were hurting. A lot of people lost their jobs. I don't think it was necessarily like a recession, but like some things got tight. I just don't understand like how there was such a massive shift in like real estate, quote unquote, like inventory levels. Like why is there all of a sudden the price of a house has gone up so much and everybody needs a house, but there's not any? Like I get that how that could happen over time, but how's it happen in like a matter of a few months, several months?
Yeah, so it has happened over time. Like the inventory has been steadily lower and lower. And if you rewind all the way back to 2008, I don't know how deep we want to get into this. You rewind all the way back to 2008, you've got all this inventory on the market that's got to be bought up before you need anything more. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of jobs to be had, so there wasn't on-the-job training. So if you were a contractor in 2008, that's getting to be 12, 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
You didn't have the work to have the guys or to have the employees, to have the crews, the teams. So you weren't necessarily training on the job, which is for the most part how guys in the industry learn how to do the work, is they're on the job training and then they just grow up through it. Well, if you have that lag in an industry, then who's now performing the work? They've been in business, now they've added 12 or 13 years to how old they were when they were doing the work. So you have an older demographic doing the work and less guys in training, that know how to help them. So that's where the skilled labor shortage comes in. So that's a depressed market coming up. Now that we have the supplies low and we have the demand coming back, well then if you dump a lot of artificial money or even just the fear of what's going on, the uncertainty in the market, I think it moves money towards real assets. It makes people want to own something, get out of the currency that's devaluing.
So it's been coming anyway.
They
printed a bunch of money. People have money to spend. The supply to build those houses got choked. And so like all these, and people are trying to get out of a city.
Then you add a lot of competition to that. We're used to, as Americans, I feel like we're used to mainly being where everything gets shipped. Mm-hmm. So all the materials are being shipped to us to build. Well, if look at a time lapse of Dubai over the last 10 years, it was a desert and then a huge city. Where did that material come from? And where did it used to go? So if it used to come straight here with little to no competition, now the rest of the developing countries are building and using that material, and those, now we're in more of a bidding war for that. So that competition on supplies doesn't help the supply chain issues either. So, maybe COVID exacerbated or sped up a problem that was going to be there or coming anyway, but I don't think this was a real surprise for a lot of people.
Gotcha. Well, I guess I can see the connection between like being a rodeo cowboy and being an entrepreneur. Like I view it as that. I guess you just see more rodeo cowboys that they don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs. They do the like we know some guys, like I think you said it, like, and this isn't a bad thing because
he's fixing to say a bad thing.
No, like I just don't want it to sound derogatory, but it's just like some of these guys, the only reason they care about money is because that's how you keep score.
Mm. Yeah.
If you break even, it's a free vacation.
Exactly.
Sterling Crawley.
Right.
Bonnie Daytona.
Dale Brisby. Yeah. Like it's
money's important.
But it's important because they keep score that way. I'm saying to people.
Yeah.
Like there's some people out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with someone who's just not concerned with money. Now, when they're done rodeoing, they will absolutely be in a different position than someone like yourself who was more focused on, how you were going to make an income after rodeo. But anyway, and it doesn't have to just be rodeo. It could be anything. Like there's a lot of people that are just focused on right now, this thing in front of them, and they're not thinking 5-10 years ahead.
Yeah, no, when I was rodeoing, money was less important about being able to afford to get down the road and more important about keeping score. Like that's why I cared about it. I could figure out any way to make, money, but I could only make that money that would go in that magazine a certain way.
Yeah.
And that was the main focus on that was to keep score. But the main focus on money in a business is just the lifeblood of the business. If you're out there to help people, you can only help people if you stay alive and put your mask on first. right? So money is extremely important to a business because, that's its lifeblood. It has to stay alive before it can help anyone.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about like helping people, and it seems like over the last year that I've been talking to you, you've talked a whole lot more about like helping contractors. Like that seems like other people like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a tough industry. A lot of people are derogatory towards contractors. And a lot of contractors do get in the business because they're good at building something, or they worked for someone else. I was an electrician. I worked for another electrician. I'm a master electrician now. I want to start my own business. Or, I came up with a trade, a trim carpenter, and now I want to run my own trim carpentry company. That's not coming from a business aspect of growing a business. So, Robert Kiyosaki talks about, the self-employed versus the business owners, the owning your own job or having a business. A business is a set of systems. You can sell a business, you can leave from a business and it still work. Most contractors own their own job, and if they leave, the income leaves, and they can't help any more than they can personally help. So I knew that I wanted to create an actual business so that I could help more people than just who I could directly help, and so that that business wouldn't own me forever. I want the personal benefits of owning a business as well. And then that turned into where the journey really led. Like when you jump from the having your own job, and like especially if you talk to somebody that wants to leave their job, like doesn't like their W-2 job and they want to start their own business. Okay, that's a really important jump, and I love that. And I'll have a conversation. I would much rather talk to you about what you're doing on the side than I would talk to you about your job, because you're going to have more passion about that. You're going to want to talk about it more. We're going to be more on an interesting level. Forgot where I was going with that.
Well, we were talking about helping contractors.
Yeah. So at that point, I really got into building the business systems. And that's where a lot of my focus is. And whether it's Capital Cash Flow Partners or Turnkey, I really want to focus on building those business systems out, because that's the way I can help more people. Well, then you can help a certain number of clients if more of us can work together. If I can help another contractor and they can help me, and we can grow our businesses together, then that's the more clients we can reach, the more people we can help. So if I know that I'm a part of a group, the real estate guys have a syndication mentoring club, and I really believe in mentorship. So I'm part of that group, and Robert and Russ and the rest of the guys in that group help me grow my business a lot. Like a lot of the things that I'm working on come from that group, and I know how much it helps. So the more that we can get together and share ideas, like that's another thing is business owners really like to keep things secret. A scarcity mentality is pretty prevalent, and mainly all the success that I can point to has come from an abundance mentality. So the more that we can help each other, then the more we can all go out and help other people. Like it's a dangerous world getting a custom home built. Like most people, if they really dig deep into a few questions, they don't have answers to them once they start building their home. And when the problems happen, if the right person looked at that deal, a lot of times you can foresee some of those. You can't foresee all of them, and we make mistakes just like everybody else. But I want to constantly grow and learn to make our brand better. And if it can help other contractors and we can all, make the construction world a better place, great. If nothing else, it just helps our business, help the clients that we're working with, then that's not a bad miss.
Yeah. Huh. So looking back at your rodeo career, like, cause I get a lot of guys, like they'll message, how to get started rodeo and how to get started ranching, how to get started riding bulls, whatever. Like, what do you think is a good mindset going into, let's say, a rodeo career? Like how should they look at money, and what's like some practical advice you might give a young guy? Like how should they be thinking about maybe money or their side hustle as they're rodeoing? Because it's expensive to rodeo. But you also don't want to look up and you're, 37 and you got nothing, or the opposite, you're in complete, up to your ears in debt.
Yeah, that's when I put a lot of thought into just like trying to think of how I would start that conversation.
Yeah.
it's a tough one because there's a lot of passion built into that normally. Like behind the rodeo cowboy, a lot of times it's just blind passion. I'm going to make it work. And it all kind of looks the same on the surface. Like we all rode in the vans. We all slept in the back seat instead of getting hotel rooms and shared rides so that we could help out on fuel bills and things like that. But it doesn't mean that there's not a way to, I don't feel like you're forfeiting the passion just because you dig into it a little bit and look at it. Like if the math's bad, it doesn't mean you don't do it, but you still have to have a plan. Like you still have to pay entry fees. So, just paying your entry fees on time saves you how much money in the PRCA. Like I haven't been rodeoing for a little while now, but you don't pay those fees by the end of the night. You know, a lot of times that's a big hit, and you could be talking about 100%, doubling your fees basically.
Yep.
Like with the right fees attached to it, or fines with the right fines attached to it.
So you're talking about like just purely being responsible.
Yeah, just some of the management. Like just put a plan together is one of the big things. But if you're going to have a side hustle, I mean, it's just like any other business time management. I focus on sometimes on certain things, sometimes on others. Sometimes it's on the business, sometimes it's in the business, sometimes it's another brand or something. And I try to schedule those things out. At one time I thought, man, I really think, or I know that rodeo would have taken more dedication from me to excel more than I did. So there was, I only made it to a certain level. I did only put a certain amount of focus and dedication to it. Now, whether I would have excelled farther than that had I put more dedication or not, then, that's an unknown. But I do know that there was more other guys were doing that I wasn't doing. So at one point I was like, well, no, you've just got to dedicate everything to it. And is that practical advice? Like that's a tough question of, okay, but you still have to, eat and pay your fuel and things like that. Like,
right.
Like how do you bridge that?
Well, I got more questions, but you guys got any?
So today, like, especially with marks and everything,
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Donnie. We talked a lot about how a lot of people are just built differently. He talked a lot about some people built to be warriors, some people built to be cowboys and everything. Was there ever a time in your life where you had like a steady job and everything, and then all of a sudden this risk came where you wanted to be your own boss and you had to have that conversation with yourself, to take that risk? Like, were you always like that? Did you always know you were going to be your own boss, or was there a time like you were kind of thinking maybe I could just,
No.
settle with this? No. Oh.
No.
Yeah, easy answer. I'm out of questions, Don.
Yeah, no.
No.
No, man, and I've noticed that too. Like, my advice is always to go do your thing.
Right.
Like like Carly will tell me like, hey, not everybody believes that way. Not everybody's fit for that. And I didn't believe that. And now I'm not really sure, like I don't know, I don't really know what the answer is there, but I do feel like, maybe certain people, don't necessarily want that push.
Right.
But no, I did have a job. When I was 18, I started riding broncs. So I graduated high school. I started college at Sam. I loaded up with hours all on Tuesday, Thursday. So, that, because it was, why not? It's the hours of high school. I worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
And I failed every single class and only went to one rodeo. No, two rodeos. I went to Kinder and Uvalde. So that didn't work out well. So then I decided I was just going to CPR rodeo, UPR rodeo, and then pro rodeo.
Yeah.
And I was just I wasn't going to go back to college for a while. And my stepdad has a oil field construction company in Buffalo, and that him and my mom ran. I can't remember. They closed it down about 5 years ago, probably.
Right.
But anyway, they were doing that, and I did have bills, and I had started getting into debt, and so I started working with them on like a roustabout crew. Then I got a CDL and started hauling rock and heavy equipment with 18-wheelers, and then that the work kind of started to decline around the 2007, 2008 mark. And I started working with my mom in the office doing the accounting and the business side of it and seeing a little bit more of that. Theirs was definitely an own your own job thing. They didn't have the set of systems put together, but they were solid, making a living, doing what they wanted to do, you know, on their own terms kind of deal. So I got to see that part of the business side of it.
Right.
And then I decided, I met Carly at Sam, and I was rodeoing a lot more. So I decided to hang the whole working thing up and just go to college. And then I just, whatever it took to make a living. But I was always really interested in real estate. So we would flip houses, do remodels. I built fence, sold cedar posts out of my front yard, like anything that I could do to not have a job. And I'm good with being, it's not that I have anything against being an employee. Like, I have an amazing team and we're all building a business together. Like, it doesn't really matter whose name's on it or who we started. We're all there building a business. We're all doing the same things. I have a team of 5 of us that we're all focused on the same goals. And it's just a really cool community to work. We just go together and do whatever we can do to make that brand work. The working for huge corporations and and the government is a big corporation as well. I don't have a lot of passion for that.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, it's just fun. You know, hearing you say this and everything, you're telling it like anything I could do to not have a job. You just listed off 12 or 15 jobs that you had.
Yeah, I don't mind
the
work.
whole time. Exactly. So I think that's just it. I mean, it sounds like your biggest secret is work harder. You know, work harder, but it doesn't sound like work. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, freedom is the single driver for everything that I have ever had any interest in.
Right.
Somebody else pointed that out to me.
Yeah.
But no, it's man, when there's a school deal at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, I go.
Yeah.
You know, because I can. If we want to work, through the weekend and then take the next week off, then that's the freedom of doing that. The freedom to work with the kind of people that I want to work with, to, believe the things that we believe as a brand. Like, if you're on our team and you really don't believe in what we're doing, you're not going to last very long, because it's a real big part of our day.
Right.
Well, and by the way, sorry, I was on my phone. I was texting Marcus Luttrell, so no big deal.
This guy.
No, I don't mean to name drop, but bloop. I think that you would probably speak to this, like, that freedom is great, but when a lot of people hear that word freedom, when in terms of like money and everything, they see themselves like the ultimate quote unquote passive income, where you're sitting on a beach drinking margaritas all day. I personally don't drink. I like to go to a beach for a couple of days a year, but really what that freedom means is, like, you're actually going to work harder at your job. You just get to dictate when and where you go. And so it doesn't, I think I believe that God created us to work.
Absolutely. Think about how odd the concept of having so much wealth you don't have to do anything is.
Yeah.
And think about how odd that is. Like, talk to a caveman and go, yeah, but you collected so much from everyone that you don't ever have to stay alive again. You'll just be alive. It'll be fine. You won't have to stay warm or eat or do any of these things.
Just imagine what kind of piece of trash that person would turn into. Just nothing.
No.
You're doing nothing.
You'd be the worst caveman in the world.
Yeah.
I remember I worked for this ranch once, and I remember one of the owners and everything. You could tell he when you saw him in the morning at like 10 o'clock, he'd either be just livid, ticked off, or he'd be, happy-go-lucky dude. And we finally found out what it was, is that he was on the stock market, and he played it with a limit. So it was like he could make up to 10 million, or he could lose only about 5 million. And remember, one of the guys I was working with was like, man, it must be something to have that kind of money. And it was like, no, I mean, just to have that much kind of money, it's like you're just trading some problems for other problems. That guy might not have to worry about keeping his lights on at the day, but I probably won't ever lose $10 million one morning, or make that. So it's like changing numbers, and just you don't, when you get rich, you don't lose problems. You just change them for other problems.
Rich people commit suicide.
Yeah.
Too.
Do you feel like stress is different? Like, do you feel like there's different levels of stress? Like, I wonder if everyone just maxes stress out. Like you might be stressed
Yeah.
over different things. You
If
may
they're-
look at someone else and go, "Oh man, I can't handle the stress I'm under. I could never handle that kind of stress." But
Right.
they're not stressed about the same thing you are. So do we all just max out on whatever we're stressed about, whether it's relevant? or not?
100%.
Yeah. So we're all the same amount of stress. Pick what your stress is.
If a rich person has ever committed suicide, then that should tell you, oh, maybe money doesn't solve all the problems.
Life
Right.
will always be life. Like, no matter where you go, no matter what you have,
Yep.
problems of the living.
Now there's a balance, So like if we are, like as a rodeo cowboy, you'll see somebody win a chunk of change,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think just be wise. You've got an opportunity to be wise. And I try to, I was telling somebody earlier, like you can ask yourself, is this right or is this wrong? Or you can ask yourself, is this wise? Because there's a lot of things in your life that aren't wrong to do, but they're not wise either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, man, I won $16,000 in these 2 weekends. I'm really thinking about buying a jet ski. Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. Is it wise? No, it's dang sure not wise either. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where people get caught. Like they just kind of go with that. So like, I'm not saying people should look through the lens of money when they're trying to find success. But on the other hand, like, if you're given a little and you're responsible with it, then sometimes you can. Anyway.
Have
Yeah, I
you ever
don't-
seen anybody frown on a jet ski, though?
Solid point. and here's the other thing. If that person wants to buy that jet ski and then that's great. What I wouldn't want to hear from that person is them complaining 3 years later as to why they don't have money for a down payment on
Yeah,
the house.
no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So long as if that person knows that, 1,000% that's okay. What I don't want to hear is them complaining 5-8 years later, like about the man or the government or taxes. Like, hold on, let's back up here. Like you can probably, you made that bed. Let's sleep in it. Yeah, I got zero problem with someone who's got a great attitude that broke even rodeoing and they look at it like a free vacation. That's a bad to the bone, happy-go-lucky dude, and we know those people, and there is not a dang thing wrong with them. That guy is not going to commit, he's not going to do that thing that rich guy did. Like, you'll see more depressed. It's the guy that gets there and he doesn't have that good attitude about looking back and thinking it was a free vacation, and he's just like, man, you know what I mean? So I think it's all about, like, where do you want to get in life? And
It's also what you've signed up for. Like you mentioned being broke at 37, still trying to rodeo. Are you broke at 37 and you're happy and you're on your own and you're only responsible for yourself, or are you broke at 37 and your family's at the house struggling? Did you sign up for that responsibility and then not show up?
yeah,
Because that's going to take a toll on your mental state and definitely your relationships. So it kind of depends on what you sign up for as well. Like we go through life, we sign up for all these different things while we're in the moment, and then all our chapters are mixed up.
yeah.
So like Jacob Scrawley's grandmother sat, we were there one day on just kind of going through from a rodeo. And I probably told you this story 100 times, but she talked about living in the chapter, like be happy in the chapter that you're in. And when you go to another chapter, commit to going to that other chapter. Don't drag up, what you were back in '85. I throw a football over those mountains kind of deal. And then
Right,
you're
right.
still down at the bar hanging out with your football buddies trying to talk into it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you're mixing chapters up a little bit. So, like being happy with the responsibilities you've signed up for, being committed to the responsibilities you've signed up for. Sometimes it takes giving up other things that you like doing, but it's time to transition chapters kind of deal.
Yeah.
I was going to ask him, like,
Just a quick break, mid-roll from our sponsors. We'd like to thank the Lone Survivor Foundation, Mr. Marcus Luttrell. This book here, find it, Lone Survivor, written by Marcus. Team Never Quit podcast, subscribe. Sorry, that was a mid-roll.
Yep.
He and I are best friends now.
Yep.
And I had to do that.
Also a hit movie starring Mark Wahlberg.
I just really enjoy interrupting you, Don.
no, I know, I figured. You really just kind of answered my question, so I don't even know if
Now we don't get to hear his question because you're commercial.
But
Sorry.
I guess what I was gonna say, you seem to be like, you see a lot of guys kind of maybe hang on too long, but you or like give it up too soon. I guess maybe even on the other hand, but like you kind of went out, and I feel like you have no regrets about quitting rodeo, like quit riding broncs, because you just found something else you were passionate about, or maybe even more passionate about, and kind of left it all on the table, I guess, in bronc riding. But did you miss it at all?
Man, I think, like, I don't think I knew this at the time, but I think if we do something because we really enjoy doing it and not because of what we can get out of it or the box to check or, okay, we're done or we got here. Like, I think that's a big problem with some of the goals folks set for business. It's like, okay, well, once I get here, everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or once I win that $16,000 check, I can buy that jet ski and everything's good.
Yeah.
Well, everything's not good at that point. You're just getting started. You can either use that momentum to roll, or all of a sudden your jet ski's out of gas. You don't have time to ride it, and that $16,000 check's long gone, and you're back in the grind, and his life's just not fair again. Like, so I really enjoyed rodeoing. And I really enjoyed who I rodeoed with. I was strategic about the people that I rodeoed with, not because of how the judges would look at me when I got there, but about the person that I would be around them. I might have caught some rides with a few guys that I didn't have similar values with, but I didn't consistently rodeo with guys that did not saying I was right, other people are wrong. It's just I felt comfortable with that type of person, so that's the type of person I was around. And a lot of them were way more successful at rodeo than I was. But
like Dale Brisby.
But yeah, no, I was ready to do the next thing when I got to the next thing. I was fully committed, I feel like. I really like to jump into things before I look at them too well. Like, and the better I get at like looking into things, I think it almost can be a hindrance, because you can talk yourself out of anything. Yeah. So, like partially that willingness to jump is great, but too much ready, fire, aim, it can hurt you too.
100%.
So
if you wait till you got it all figured out, you'll never do
it. Like I built this thing we're in because I want to start a podcast, but I have no idea how to start. I'm looking at y'all's mics,
hey man,
I can order these.
Anybody can do it.
You gotta,
Anybody can do it.
You just start.
Yeah.
Dude, people that have been listening to every podcast, they know that there's a few podcasts that the sound sucks just because we didn't know what we were doing, but you just got to start,
This is way different than last time. Last time I was
had that
talking, you stole that watch off you pulled that watch off my arm because I was banging it on the table. Yeah. And then I listened to it, I was like, that's why he did that.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't get headphones back then.
I think the other reason why it was maybe, I don't want to say easy, but simple for you to transition away from rodeo is you talk about, like that moment you were driving across Wyoming and it, you knew where you wanted to get in life, like, which is a conversation a lot of rodeo cowboys try to put off. Yeah. But you knew by this age, you wanted to have this kind of life. So it meant you needed this amount of income. Yeah. And rodeo wasn't going to get you there. And so if you backtracked, all right, so if that's by that age, whatever it was, let's say just hypothetically it was 52, and let's say you were 30. All right, so I've got 22 years. If I need to get to this income by then so I can have the freedom to do with my family whatever I want, how much do I need to make each year? You did that math. Rodeo wasn't going to be it.
Yeah. On the trajectory I was on, rodeo was not going to be it, or I hadn't gotten rodeo to produce that. Like, I wasn't married when we were rodeoing most of the time, but I was with who I was going to be married to. Like, I was, I was committed. We just hadn't gotten married yet.
Right.
So when I started looking at it and thinking, okay, what age do I want to be in this time period? What age when am I going to start having kids? What do I want to be able to do with those kids? What type of life, when we get married and start having kids, what type of life do I want for my family? And traveling all the time, rodeoing, making what I was making was not going to be the answer.
Right.
Like, if I was going to rodeo full time, I was going to be able to rodeo full time at a level where I brought them along with me. And I couldn't even support leaving them at home. We're off rodeoing. So yeah, we were driving through Wyoming, and I said, okay, what kind of plan do I need to put together to do XYZ? And man, I actually pulled up hard going through Wyoming and found the property that the grounds is built on, and flew back in, put in an offer on it. The other 2 tracts were sold within the week. Like it was a really quick deal. And it was weird how well it worked out. And then the whole plan worked out nothing like my plan. It didn't go anywhere near the plan. And it really you hear sayings or cliches or whatever, and some of them speak to you and some of them don't, that shoot for the moon and you'll land amongst the stars. 100%, because the plan that I wrote down on paper, it may look similar, but it doesn't look nothing like what happened. But it was still great what happened. Explain
to the people what the grounds is, because it seemed like kind of the pinnacle of your. When I tell people your story, let me tell your story.
Tell my
this
story,
is how I tell.
I mean, I don't want a commercial break hitting me in the beginning of my story.
so then
let's
you
listen
correct me if this is wrong.
Yeah.
That way I'll know. So Jeremy is working for your stepdad, and
at this point I was going to college rodeo.
No. I'm going back. We're going back. Okay, he's working for your stepdad.
I'll say, shut up, Jeremy.
You're hustling a little cash. You buy 10 acres in Buffalo.
Yep.
You build a barn dominium, and you live in it. You then find a place in Huntsville, and Drew Road, a couple of acres, and a trailer house.
He skipped over the part that I met my amazing wife on Bowden Road, but yeah,
that's fine.
Oh, just property.
But then you rented the one behind you.
Yeah.
So you're on Drew Road in the trailer house. Then you move over to 190.
Manufactured home.
Modular home.
Oh, it wouldn't matter.
You kept Drew Road, the manufactured home. You rented it out.
Yeah.
You rent it out. So now all of a sudden you've moved to your third home, and then you find that other house. You rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're driving across Wyoming. You've accumulated half a dozen or less properties after just, grinding it out for the next down payment, improving it yourself, just bare bones. And you fly home, you make an offer on the grounds. Your stepdad dissolves his deal, but he's got this awesome crew that can build anything. You scoop them up, start your own construction company, and you start building duplexes on the grounds.
Yep. Me and Tony.
Scrapping together each down payment. And then through that, you pretty much built your construction company, which is now Turnkey Construction.
Yep.
And then
that crew we still work with today. We owner financed all the equipment to them. They made their last payment today.
Dang.
Last payment today. He owns all the equipment. He's a subcontractor. He can work with anybody. We put him into business, or helped him go into business. We still have conversations all the time about how, what he can do, it's really cool. I'm super happy for those dudes.
Yeah. So, and then you built up the grounds, which was 42 units.
Yeah,
it's a horse property, got an arena, got a barn with
horse stalls.
78?
Yeah. 42 units, 78 horse stalls, an arena, traps, pastures.
Dang.
Yeah. We had a hard time finding anywhere to keep, my wife's a breakaway roper. So we had a hard time finding anywhere to keep a horse. And so she was living at my place in Buffalo. I was living at her place on Bowden Road here in Huntsville. So we just swapped because she started teaching school in Dew. And then she got a job at Swift Energy in Houston. So we were going to move back to Huntsville, but I had given up that rent house, or she had given up that rent house, and I'd moved back to Buffalo because I wasn't going to, I was just going to drive it. And she sent me 3 listings. I went to look at the nicest one, and I didn't get out of my truck. And I was like, no, we can buy something. And that's when we bought Dura Road. And we
listings for rent houses.
Yeah, she sent me 3 listings for rent houses. And the first, I chose the nicest one and pulled into the driveway and backed out. Like I wouldn't even go inside. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I knew she wasn't going to keep a horse in what was there. And so we bought that place on Dura Road. Me, Jacobs, and Sterling moved into it, and Carly. And we cleared it, built a little 2-stall barn, for Carly's horses, and then bought a place on 190, but remodeled that, just like you said.
From start to finish,
Yeah.
how much time did it take to, let's say, finishing the grounds, that took a couple of years, but like from start to finish, like at least buying the grounds or getting started?
It was real slow at first, and then it went faster.
So like 5 years?
Yeah, it was 5 years. Well, turnkey was started when we bought. So I bought the grounds. I actually went to hire a builder. He was gonna start forming the slab on Thursday. I'm there with my cup of coffee at 7 a.m. and about 10, I was like, well, I guess he's not coming. so I called him, nothing. Called him all day Friday, nothing. Called him Saturday. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I'd never hired a builder before, so I emailed him Saturday and said, hey, man, I think I'm gonna go a different direction. And he emailed me right back and said, in business, sometimes that happens. I was like, what did I do? What is going on,
What the hell?
So, yeah, and Tony was like, man, we just need some help. Like, we can build these. Like, it's no different than what – Tony's got years of experience in construction.
Right. Yeah.
And so he wasn't worried about new construction. For
Which
some
is why
reason,
he's your partner.
Yeah. So, for some reason, new construction scared me when remodeling was way worse. But yeah, that crew came down, and Malcolm, who is on our team now, he's a superintendent with us. Malcolm came over to show us how to do all the trim and everything, and actually brought his brother Ira to help me learn how to do the trim on the metal building. Me and Tony framed him up, sheeted it, but Malcolm came and helped us.
And now he works for you.
Yeah, now he's part of the team too. And then another buddy of mine, Cole, he works with us. We've been friends since the 6th grade. Not you.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
you could.
Yeah.
You want to intern somewhere that's better, not better, but
Yeah.
different. Sorry, Donnie.
Take him. No, it's fine.
Donnie said take him.
Y'all just go ahead. I'll stay here.
Yeah, and then my mom does our books, and Tyler is the new Dale Brisby appointed intern. I appointed him, but you called him an intern.
That's a pretty like real story, and coming from somebody who just didn't, you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth, like I used to assume. Like, but essentially, it's just like, man, I don't know how he does that. Well, you got to be wise, number one, and then you just work for the next step, and you're working towards the next step. And Keith Mundy at American Hats, he told me, he said, you overestimate what you'll do in a year, and you underestimate what you'll do in 5. And that's what happened with you. It's like, man, I really want to get a lot done this year, but then if you look at the span of 5 years, you went from, renting a place to selling all those and starting the grounds.
Yep.
But I guess the reason why I spelled it out like that is just like that to me gives a lot of hope to just the everyday person. And it may not be real estate that they want to get started with, but like starting a company.
Yeah, anything. And that's the people I want to have a conversation with. That's who I want to talk to. That's kind of the focus that we want our podcast to be around is, taking the jump to working for yourself. Like almost everyone has something that they do on the side that is what they really like to do, what they wish they could do all the time, but I also have experienced the problems through a lot of that on the way through to working on building the business. And it is an ongoing thing. Like it's something we're working on right now today. And I think it's a good idea to document that as a way through it if it's for no one other than ourselves, and then talk to other people that are going through the same thing, and we can all learn from each other, because it's not an undoable thing. It's actually what it's going to take. I think that's what it's going to take for like society to be happy. You know what I mean? Like we're not meant to be a part of a machine. Like when you work for Walmart, you are a part of the machine.
Yep.
Like that's why so many people are unhappy with those types of positions, I feel like, is because where's the real purpose and passion behind that? So most of those folks it's either a temporary thing that they're transitioning through, or it's a later in life thing, or it's wait until they get there, but they all have something else that they like to do, and that's who I want to talk to is someone that's already doing those things. What conversations do we need to have that would help all of us grow into a scalable business that,
So I've had two girls come to mind. Number one is Caitlin. She did a lot for our company. She Dale Brisby's personal trainer, worked for us for 3 years. and she recently left. And, you know, she came to me actually like 6 months ago and had like a conversation, her and I, and she had enough side gig clients, you know, that she was programming for and helping them for at a distance for her personal training. She's a personal trainer. And she was like, I think I'm ready to go full time. And I was like, yeah, you should have done it yesterday, you know, but you know, like I was going to lose somebody and essentially her job, I had to hire 2 people to replace, you know, she had so much on her plate, but she went full time and, but it was such a good conversation, you know, like I congratulated her. And I feel like a lot of the people that come into our organization are short term, you know, they're now the other girl that comes to mind, and if they are short term, that's great. Like I want them to pursue. I don't expect somebody to give me their life. Now the other person that I was thinking of is Lisa, and she's like the warehouse manager. She does our books. She's just like, and she's been working for us for even longer than. But like her DNA, like she got 5 kids, single mom. If it's 5 o'clock, like I've never been around anyone that works as hard as Lisa. At 5 o'clock, if we're done, she gone.
Yep.
And she checks out, she turns off, and she's good at it. She's not as stressed. Now she's begun to get a lot more ownership of the deal because she's turning into more of a partner than like a manager. But she was cut out, and I believe her DNA was such that like she'd rather be the number 2 at rodeo time than go take on the stress of being number 1 at her own thing.
So what do you think her own thing would be if she started a business tomorrow?
Knowing her skill set, something with like accounting, you know, like having but she doesn't have a degree. And so like,
but starting her own thing. She doesn't need a degree to start her own thing.
Well, I don't know what laws there are with CPAs.
Oh yeah. But she could still, you know, do exactly what she's doing.
I don't know how she would scale it without having, you know, being a CPA. Like she's great at keeping books, but I'm not sure where you're going with this.
But she could do the exact same thing.
She could do anything. This woman is.
Yeah, like what she's doing for you,
woman.
She could do as a business for you or for anyone else that needed that, if she could scale that business or work that thing. But what she's doing right now, how is that much different from that? You know what I mean? Like I agree, and I don't know. I mean, yes, some people are cool being a number 2, but like why? Like Lisa probably doesn't need to have her own brand name as the name of the brand. Like she's still building a business. Yeah. Like she's building a business just as much as I am or anybody on my team is. It just has a different brand on the top of it. But you just mentioned partner, you know what I mean? Like whether she's a partner on paper or just a partner in what y'all do every day, it's the same thing, I feel like. You know, she's still building a business. She's not working for a corporation that is just clocking her in and out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not just like, no, you do this, but you put this bolt in this hole. That's what you do. It's like, okay, that's who's going to get passionate behind that?
Right.
You know, like the Industrial Revolution turned work into this big, you know, treadmill. And I don't think people are cut out for that. I think people are meant to work their whole lives.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that has anything to do. I don't think those things are related at all.
Yeah. I guess in my mind, I'm not saying that. I guess it's hard for me to just throw rocks at either one. You know, like I don't think everyone is cut out to be the number 1 in the company. I don't think everyone is cut out to be, you know, in a machine.
Yeah.
So, but there's times when you got to do both. What do y'all think? What do you got on the side that you've wanted to do?
Oh, music for sure.
Really?
Well, I've just always done it, and I've
listened to him. Can you hear him?
What?
He has to sing something.
What? Yeah, Wagon Wheel.
He doesn't sing very good.
Wagon Wheel. Yeah, sing me Wagon Wheel.
I can sing Wagon Wheel.
He plays the guitar okay, I guess.
Thanks, Donnie.
Thanks, Donnie.
Definitely music. That was always something. I wanted to buy cows for a long time, and but I just didn't know that enough about it. You know, I was around a lot of guys, but you know, I've definitely don't have the same gene you do, because I a lot of times with decisions like that, I do suffer the paralysis by analysis. You know, overthinking it, and I like to study it, and sometimes I am a little late to pull the trigger on things, and music's a big one of those. I've had opportunities to go record stuff and everything, but just never, it was just kind of always one of those deals where it's like, I don't know. I'm old going over to come to Texas for a long time, like just crying for no other reason other than like, I don't know if it's a good idea. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any way I can help facilitate that. I didn't realize that you were that passionate about that in particular. Everything you and I have talked about, like you kind of mentioned music, but
Well, I mean, it was just one of those deals, man. I made a lot of money through it. I mean, just always playing in bars, and I was just always curious, like, well, what if a guy put in just like 10% more effort into this, if it would ever pay? Yeah, that's just one of several things.
Man, I mentioned it last night, but I don't know about it in this context. I'm reading a book right now called The Practice by Seth Godin.
Yeah,
And it really comes down in like, what are you doing it for? Who are you doing it for?
right.
You know what I mean? Like if it's just to do the thing you enjoy doing, like if you just go ride Bronx to ride Bronx and not go ride Bronx to win this certain thing or to do this certain thing, like maybe that, I don't know. It's I can't explain a whole book in a minute because I can't, otherwise I'd be an author.
Yeah.
But no, it's about it being a practice,
Right.
It's about it being just something that you have to offer the world.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to do it professionally so that the world gets what it deserves out of you.
Right.
And then, moving forward, not necessarily just for the what comes of it.
Yeah. No, and that makes sense. And, one of the questions I had for you, I mean, because you talk a lot about just being in love with the process. And so does Dale a lot. Like, it's not, if you do it just for the end result, then you'll always come up short, So, I mean, what about the process of the things you do, the businesses you're involved in? Like what keeps it going for you? Like what's the spark that just keeps drawing you back to it?
Because it's constantly something different and it's a challenge. I feel like something has to be right outside of your reach.
Right.
Like if you put, a Rubik's Cube, you know how to do a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
How many times do you solve that today?
Well, I don't have one.
But if you don't have one, that's
right.
the point.
Yeah.
So when you were figuring it out, when you were learning it, did you have one on you?
All the time.
And how many times did you do it in a day?
Countless.
Yeah, exactly. But at some point, it's too easily attainable.
Right.
Right? The challenge is gone. There's no real purpose behind it. You start losing the drive to do it. Now, you'll damn sure pick one up when there's a crowd that it fits, and it's a cool trick that you can do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still a cool skill that you know how to do. But as far as being an everyday driving practice to get better at,
right.
I just, most people don't end up on, America's Got Talent with being able to do it out of a paper sack without touching it,
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of why I find building businesses so interesting, and is because one, there's a super purpose behind it. Like you're helping people, you're helping your team, you're helping the clients, you're helping your family. Like you're doing something for the world. You're not just here taking from everyone. You're providing something in the community that's giving something back to you, and it's right out of your reach. Like there's days that I feel really, really defeated, and that I know I did everything wrong, but it's okay to not know how to do it yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're so frustrated that we don't know how to do it, but then things that we do know how to do that are easy to us, we don't want to do every day.
Yeah.
So where does that balance come in?
Right.
And how can you keep your mindset okay to where you're okay sucking at something?
That's Marcus Aurelius. If you really want to get better at something, you have to be perfectly content with being thought a fool.
Yeah.
And it sounds like being afraid to fail just doesn't sound like much of a problem for you. I could have worded that better.
Yeah. No. I was kind of worried, like waiting on a failure. Like, man, like everybody talks about how much they learn during the downtime, the failures. Russ Gray had a chance to interview with Donald Trump, and he said, hey, what did you learn in the good times and what did you learn in the bad? And he said, well, I didn't really learn much in the good times, but in the bad times, I learned that it's good to keep a little cash.
Right.
Well, everybody's learning these things in the down times and in the failures and all that. And I'm like, man, what is this big failure going to feel like, and how much is it going to hurt, and what's it going to do to my,
Right.
am I going to be able to get through it? Like, how am I going to handle it and all that? And then the more you go to thinking about it, it's like, man, there's so many times I failed. Like, most of the things that I planned out did not go according to those plans.
Right.
And that's a failure, to some degree. And then there are a ton of lessons to that. So maybe sometimes the failures don't seem so devastating because you're so in the thing that you're trying to learn how to do, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you ever really fail though? And like, if you don't quit, is it really a failure? Like,
Right.
You got to just keep grinding it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's true too.
see it through to the end.
Yeah. No, that's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about in sales.
But do you realize it?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
important to realize
Yeah, like
your
like,
setbacks, like your peaks and valleys,
Yeah,
and but learn from it.
Like in sales, it's like, selling vitamins in college. I realized that most of the time when someone said no, because it's a quality product,
yeah.
I still take them, however many years later. And like a lot of the people that I thought might enjoy it or benefit from it, I would introduce to it and they would say no, which is fine. On to the next one. No is the second best answer you can get, by the way. Yes, obviously is number one, but no is second. The third one of not knowing, that's the worst.
Mm.
So anyways, you get a no, and it's like, that's fine. You just go on to the next one. But what usually happened was it really was a not right now. When they said no, they really meant not right now. The only caveat was when they did change their mind, were you still doing that thing?
Yeah.
So like I eventually did quit. I got busy rodeoing and I still take them, but I quit selling products. And so like now it's like, I got this new thing, got an apparel brand, Rodeo Time, but essentially, and people have reached out to me, it for a few years after that, like, hey, you still selling that vitamins and stuff? And I was like, but it was always a reminder, like, that wasn't a no. This person came back and it was a not right now. And so that was sometimes when you met with that rejection, which when you said that, like, if you don't quit, you didn't necessarily fail. That no was a not right now.
But you didn't technically quit. Like, you're still a salesman. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, in sales, correct,
like
100%.
Everything kind of.
Yeah, just selling something different.
Yeah, the whole I can sell ice to an Eskimo thing is like, why would you want to sell something to somebody that didn't need it?
Yeah.
Like, what is the checkbox that you're trying to
Well,
to
I think
check
the whole
there,
purpose
you know what I
behind
mean?
that is just to talk about somebody's a skilled salesman.
Ketchup popsicle.
That sounds disgusting. that analogy always grosses me out.
But yeah, like,
sometimes you don't want to spend very much time around those skilled salesmen.
yeah,
I think a good salesperson is somebody that can connect a solution to somebody that has a problem.
100%.
Like, they might not know they have a problem, or they may not know that your product is the answer to the problem. But if you believe that it is, then it gives you.
Well, and it was easy for me to sell vitamins because leading up to that point, like, dude, if I was going to a rodeo, if I was exhausted all day, every day, didn't matter how much sleep I get. And then like the best case scenario for me, like, I'm going to get 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep. And then before I go to the rodeo, I'm going to take an 2-hour long nap. And then maybe I'll have enough energy when I get there. But the energy drinks from the gas station just didn't really do it for me. But I mean, that is what I had to use, but it just didn't feel like it. And so I switched, and this stuff made me feel great. And it's really over the last decade, like, I feel great. I still do. I still take it. But the point is like, so now all of a sudden, like, I'm selling something I legitimately believe in. Well, who doesn't want to have energy? Right. Literally, if you think about it, that's everybody. That's why it was easy for me I didn't have to sell ice to an Eskimo because, well, do you want to be alive? Okay, well, if you take this, you feel even better. You know what I mean? It's like, like, who doesn't drink water or something? Like, if you're a water salesman type deal. And so that was why. Now, what I've transitioned to, we're getting into a deep track Dale Brisby, by the way. I ain't ever talked about this stuff on a podcast, but like transitioning to I was selling yo-yos in 3rd grade. Like, I love to sell stuff. I hate sales, but I love sales. Like, I don't want to be the salesman that you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Like me and you
right.
experienced
Yeah.
down in Florida.
Oh, man.
Like, I don't want to be that, you know?
Bad.
And like, so like when Black Friday comes around, like I enjoy that moment because like Picasso said, real artists ship.
Yep.
That's what I enjoy. I enjoy thinking up a product, branding it. I enjoy like somebody discovering Dale Brisby on social media, and over 90 days, they turn from somebody that doesn't know me to somebody that knows me, somebody that enjoys me, to a fan, to a customer. That's an interesting process to me. Now, if I sell 9 things in a year, that's great. If I sell 900, that's great. I just enjoy the process.
Yep.
I don't have no damn dream of like buying an island. I just enjoy rinsing and repeating those fundamentals. But like, so anyways, Black Friday comes around, like I like it because I like to see stuff ship. But I also don't like it because I don't like really want to be a salesman. Like I like to entertain people. So that's why I say I like it, but I don't. Like I'm an entrepreneur and I got to pay my 16 employees. But I don't want to be a.
But you created something for an ideal person, and watching it ship, just verifies that or validates that you offered the right thing for the world.
Yeah.
For the people that have the same value set that you have, the people that you thought would like this thing, whatever that thing is, whatever the widget is, you produced something for the world, and the world validated that you were right in producing it,
Yep.
that it was something that would make their life better.
Yep. Real artist ship.
Real artist ship. That book is really coming up.
So Jeremy, Jill talks to all of his interns a lot about, building your brand, having a few things that, make you interesting to people and like things that you can stand by. And, for Dale and Rodeo Time and everything, it's cowboy, rodeo, ranching and everything, also quality, and it's entertainment and it's funny. What are some things about your brand? Like what makes you stand out? Like when you're, besides you're a great guy and deliver quality products and everything. I mean, like what's going to make me call you?
Yeah, no. So I talk to him
Honesty.
as much as I can about he understands the brand at a lot higher level than a lot of us do, I think. So getting that brand across it's not like I'm not great at getting our story out. I don't know about like we're working on that. But yeah, like I will admit to honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you good news. I want to give you the real news.
Yeah.
Like we had a client, that me and Malcolm are in the house Friday, and there's, supply chain issues, roll-up doors or garage doors are hard to get. And he said, "Hey, when's my garage door going to be here?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Malcolm just stepped outside. He'll be in here." Malcolm came back in. I said, "Hey, when's the garage door?" And Malcolm said, "Oh, I scheduled it." And yeah, but when's it going to be here? He said, "Well, Trevor said 4 to 6 weeks." And he's like, "Okay, well, that's 2 weeks ago. So, 2 to 4 weeks is when my door is going to be here." And I stopped him. I said, no. 2 to 4 weeks is when we were told your door was going to be here. Your door is going to be here when your door gets here. Not being confrontational, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and the expectations there, that like the truth is this is an issue and we're going to be the best at helping you work through it because, we are doing a lot of things to fill these gaps, but the transparency doesn't necessarily mean only giving the good information. I want to work through what our problems are, with you and what problems are in the industry. Like there's some serious things you got. There's some hurdles. Now we're here to help you through them, but I'm not going to act like they're not there because that's just a surprise on the back end. A second things are relationships, man. Like relationships, I believe that the social capital or the community that you're around, like that's the most important thing that you have or that you can have, and the relationships are for life. Like I don't want to help the client at an expense of a contractor. I probably have a deeper relationship with the contractor, to be honest with you, because we're going to work with that guy on 10 houses. We may work with you on 1. Yeah. It doesn't mean that I'm going to lean towards them and you're going to get something unfair, but it means that I'm not just going to side with you and jump on, it was a contractor's fault. No, here's the issues that they were going through too. Let's all talk through it, So I want the clients I want to always be able to call them. I want that relationship to last. I really, like when something goes wrong with a relationship, I really, that's one thing that I'll put everything down normally and go address. I've got a few stories about how relationships didn't go right. So I just put down everything and drove over to their office. Now, perfectly transparent, they didn't all work out still, but I could sleep that night because I went and addressed the conversation, and always learning. Like, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in the past few years is not necessarily knowing too much or thinking I knew too much, but thinking I had to show up as if I knew too much.
Right.
Like I was okay with needing to learn all the time. I thought, okay, that's learning and that's being open. But when I would talk to somebody, I feel like I would err to the side of knowing that conversation at a higher level than I necessarily knew it.
Right.
Which meant, they were getting whatever I knew, but I wasn't getting anything from them because what are they going to offer up about it if I already know everything about it?
Right.
So I didn't learn what I could have learned in the conversations with people that I would talk to because I felt like I had to know so much that I didn't leave gap for them to help me know what I didn't know.
Right.
So I wasn't as open as I thought I was.
I got you.
And I try to get better at that.
Yeah.
So that's a personal take, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said all that from a personal take, but I believe the brand should reflect who you are as a person.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't think you're going to be able to successfully navigate those, or you're going to be happy when you get out the other side. Because I think your brands do need to, at one point, that's another thing that I probably made mistakes on, is trying to make these brands something, even though I wasn't necessarily like that.
Right.
Definitely didn't work. Like, it always came back to who I was as a person. That's who the brands needed to be as well. How
dare you have that kind of self-awareness? I just can't believe the transparency. But no, that's that's an incredibly astute, and especially from what it sounds like your line of work. I know you have repeat customers and everything, but building somebody's house, it's not the sort of thing that we're going to want one next month. It's not a product. As soon as you finish eating this popsicle or whatever, you're going to need to buy a new one. You need to keep them.
I like to think that if they never build another house, that's okay. But if they did, they would call me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because it's not the experience a lot of people that I talk to have had.
Right.
Like, it's not the experience. Like, I watched, like my mom and my stepdad built a new home on their property. The same kind of thing you would hire me to do. And they went down to Houston and walked into a large brand that had models on the freeway.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible experience. I mean, it was one of those stories where they walk in and they look 17 foot tall in the air and their vaulted ceiling. And there was a little round white ceramic fixture with a screw-in bulb and a pull chain, 17 foot tall in the air. They're like, what is that? And they're like, that's the light package you ordered. What? That's not the light package. It was in the contract. Like, what is, like, this is a custom home. Well, it's a customizable home is what they should have said. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's what they are, is they're customizable homes, and you get what's in the contract.
Right.
And the client feels safe, but it's anything but. The larger those systems get, and they have their place. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I cannot produce you a home for the same price that a DR Horton can. I can't do it. I don't have those relationships. I can't get the same costs, but that their system's not our system. It's different. And that was a big awareness. I wanted to get there. Like, I thought, okay, that's what success looks like for home builders.
Right.
Not for us. Like, when I learned more about what it was going to take to do that, I realized it was really off brand. Like, it was a really off personal brand of what that was.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's another Keith Mundy quote. Bigger is not always better. Better is better.
Yeah.
Better is better. Yeah.
We usually end each podcast with some life advice. What you got?
Man, you see, these last questions are what gets me every time. I don't know what's good life advice.
That surprises me because, man, like, you were like so intelligent. I'm trying to blow smoke, but like, it's almost intimidating to like ask you questions because, like, I really have to pay attention to you because you will go off. Like, if I ask you something, you will go off on something and just like be talking about things. I'm like, oh wow. Don't look away because you might miss something.
Dude, Donnie's my favorite.
Is that your interested face?
Well, I think what Donnie's trying to say is it just made him feel good that you don't have life advice ready.
No, I don't have
because Donnie often doesn't have life advice.
I very often use the same generic.
The same life advice.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I'm on
I don't know.
a lot of these. So
I feel like we just had a however long conversation about life advice. Like I got.
That's
nothing.
true. Yeah.
like,
So I
like
got
those things.
Mine is one hit me that Marcus said. Marcus Luttrell, we're on his podcast this morning. The guy that thinks the glass is half empty has never been thirsty.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That one, especially because you hear that half empty line. Like I've heard it my whole life, and I've never thought about it like that. Like that is a very simple way to put it. And the moment you get that perspective, like you're thirsty, that glass is not half empty. Give me that sunbuck. Like we've all been at least a little thirsty, and you can, if you see a glass half full, or it ain't half empty, it's half full when you're thirsty.
Yeah, when we focus on, like when something negative happens, like it's hard not to focus on it. Like there's studies that show that the negative is 5 times more potent than the positive.
Yep.
You know, so and if we can be grateful for all the awesome things that we have going on, it normally dwarfs those negative things. You know, like I'll have things that I'm pretty heavy stressed on when I get home and something's going on, and it's not like I'm taking it not lightly. It's not like it doesn't affect people's lives, part of my team or somebody that's working with me or whatever like that. Like when real things go wrong, you know, my little boy still wants to dress like me. He still wants to do the things I'm doing. You know, my wife's still, you know, happy when I get home. My little girl still runs up and screams.
Yeah, but
like
he sucks at hide and seek.
Yeah.
He sucks at. I spent
Okay, can we
20
do the
minutes
backstory?
in
20?
your shower waiting on your son to find me. Never
Yeah.
found me.
What was he doing?
Well, when I went out there, he was playing some different game.
Yeah, that he wanted to do without you bothering him. He put you in the shower to leave him alone for a while. I do it to him all the time.
What's your life advice, Cole?
Write stuff down. Lots, a lot of stuff. And Marcus Luttrell told us something today. I don't know if you already brought it up, but
that we went on a podcast with him. I did.
See, this is why I got to write stuff down. No, definitely write stuff down. Marcus Luttrell, he told us about, he wishes there was a city where people over 100 years old would live, and they were taken care of and everything, and they just lived there and everything, and they could kind of be those spots for wisdom. And I think one of the best things for me that I ever started doing was just writing stuff down, even if it was horrible. Because when I first started writing stuff down, I was thinking, I'm going to write this down, so if somebody reading it, they'd think I was just like the biggest badass of all time, like, oh yeah, I killed a buffalo today or something. And then
no one's gonna think that.
I realized all I had done was just written a horrible like fictional book. And so once I actually started writing down just everything, any kind of piece of knowledge I wrote or a mistake I made and everything, it really made me remember stuff a lot better and help me retain wisdom a tad bit
awesome.
better.
That is a good idea.
What you got, Donnie?
I guess you never. What's funny? Cole says my Missouri accent sounds aggressive sometimes.
Sometimes it does. You sound like,
hey, what y'all doing?
Yeah, you sound like Hank 3, like starting to sing that hillbilly funk rock music.
Something that I said, I'll quote, you never really fail until you quit. And I guess that comes from listening to Marcus Luttrell in person. Team never quit. So
When y'all were on the podcast with him?
I personally wasn't on the podcast. I was just
In the room.
Yeah, I was running the cameras on the cameraman, something
But
like
y'all had a moment.
that. Yeah. He did.
He kept looking at Donnie and I, and he would even
was
knife
looking at
hand
me.
us a couple times, and it was. There were a couple times in that podcast where he would talking to Dale and goes, "You know what I mean?"
He'd point straight at me.
And it was just one of those deals, like, "Yep."
And I would say, yes, sir.
Yeah. It was.
Well,
Yeah.
if you guys are interested in being notified when these podcasts come out, text the word podcast to 940-353-0890. Also, look up Jeremy Melancon, MELANCON. Jeremy Melancon. Find him.
Oh, sorry.
Find him on Instagram. Find him on TikTok and soon to be YouTube. Look out for his podcast coming soon.
Donnie tried to pay you back with an interruption and just interrupted the part where you talked about me. Thanks,
Sorry,
Donnie.
I realized that when I did it. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
That reminds me of a time.
And we'll see you guys next time. On to the next one.